Okay, this is lesson 12. In lesson 11, you learned how to solve these types of equations, 2x equals star plus 6, and you learned the new legal move of adding a 0 to both sides. But today I'm going to show you an alternative method to solving this that's not adding a 0. So go ahead and just watch what I do. We have 2x plus star, or 2x equals star plus 6. Okay? So before, what we did was we added a 0, and then we could do a legal move by taking away the stars. But instead of doing that, what you can do is you can add the same pawn to both sides. Because if I add an x and an x to both sides, it has increased this side by the same amount that I've increased this side. And now I can look at my equation and I have another legal move. I can take away a 0. And then I have 3x equals 6. So each x must equal 2. Star equals negative 2. And you'd work it out again. Let's look at the other equation that we solved yesterday. The other equation was 3x equals star plus 4. Okay? Remember yesterday, we added a 0, and we took the star away from both sides. Well, today, we're going to add an x to both sides. The reason we're adding an x is because that is creating a 0 right here. If I added star and then took away the star, that gets me back right where I started from. I want to add an x, because that gives me a 0, and I know I can take this 0 away. And I can take that away, and then I get 4x equals 4, so x equals 1, star equals negative 1. Mathematically, this is what you're doing. Okay, and this is what we're working towards in solving these algebraically. Mathematically, you are saying 3x equals star plus 4. Well, if I know that x and star are opposites, I can add an x to both sides, and then I know this is going to be 0, so that cancels each other out, so I'm left with 4x equals 4, so therefore x equals 1. I'm going to show you a paper and pencil method by the end of level 1 or level 2 where you're going to be able to do this. But for now, let's make sure that you're continuing to use your manipulatives. So let's try a couple practice problems on your own today where you're not adding a 0 to both sides to be able to use a legal move. So let's try this one. X plus 2x plus 4 equals star. So build that on your scale and try to solve it. Okay, this one could have been a little bit tricky, so let's talk about how you solved it. Here's my solution, but let me show you what I did with the pieces. There's two different ways that you can go about doing this. So ultimately, we have 3x plus 4 equals star. So I could add an x to both sides, just like we've done before. And then I have a 0 over here. I can take those away. Now, what I'm left with is 4x plus 4 equals, what is this? It's 0. So I have to think about what do these x's have to be in order to add 4 to get 0. Well, if they're all negative 1, negative 1 plus negative 1 plus negative 1 plus negative 1 equals negative 4. And negative 4 plus 4 will equal 0. So x is negative 1. A different way to do that, instead of adding an x to both sides, I like to look at the pawns and see, well, I have a pawn over here, my star, and I want to isolate my number cube is my ultimate goal. I want to get that all by itself. Well, to get that all by itself, I've got to get rid of these 3 x's. So I'm going to add stars. Well, in order to get rid of 3 x's, I have to add 3 stars to both sides. So I add 3 to this side, and I add 3 to this side. Now I can take away my zeros. And I'm left with 4 star equals 4. Therefore, each star equals 1. Put the equation back. And we'll plug those numbers into the equation. X is negative 1, star is 1. So negative 1 plus 2 times negative 1 plus 4 equals 1. When I did the multiplication, remember a negative times a positive gives you a negative product. So I get negative 1 plus negative 2. There's my multiplication. And I brought down the plus 4 equals 1. When I do this addition across from left to right, negative 1 plus another negative 2 would be negative 3. And negative 3 plus 4 is 1. And yes, 1 equals 1. That one was pretty tricky. Let's try another one. If you don't understand that, I suggest you back up and listen to both of my explanations and make sure you're clear. It doesn't matter which way you solved it. I always like to isolate my number cube so that I can divide it up. So let's try this one. I have 3 star plus 20 equals 2x. So go ahead and pause the video, build that on your table, and solve it using your legal moves. Okay. 3 star, I'm sorry, I put the wrong pieces back on here. 3 star plus 20 equals 2x. Remember, I want to isolate my number cubes. So I want to get rid of these stars. The way that I get rid of these stars is to turn them into zeros. Since I have 3 of them, I have to add 3 x's to both sides. So now I've added 3 x's to both sides. These are all 0 now. I can remove them. And I'm left with 20 equals 5x. Well, 20 divided by 5 is 4, so x equals 4. Therefore, star must be negative 4. Put all of my pieces back on the board. Plug it into my equation. Star is negative 4, x is 4. 3 times negative 4 plus 20 equals 2 times 4. 3 times negative 4 gives us a negative 12 plus 20 equals 8. And negative 12 plus 20, think of your number line, or 20 minus 12 would give us 8, and 8 equals 8. So if you understand this alternative method, it is one step closer to being able to solve these algebraically with paper and pencil. So make sure if you don't get this alternative method that you go back and listen to this lesson again, because I would like you to practice this new legal move on all the problems for lesson 12. We're not adding zeros anymore. You're adding stars or x's to both sides of your equation.